In 1651, Thomas Hobbes conceptualized the state as a Leviathan, an artificial man created by social contract, to which individuals ceded their right to violence in exchange for security. The sovereign state held a monopoly on coercion, and by extension, on the secret knowledge that secured its power: espionage. This Westphalian model, defined by territorial sovereignty and state-centric authority, has governed international relations for nearly 4 centuries. But we are now witnessing its unmaking. The monopoly has been broken, not by a rival state, but by a fundamental shift in the material and philosophical foundations of power itself. The new Leviathan is a hybrid entity, part state, part cooperation, and its nervous system is the privatized digital infrastructure upon which all modern intelligence depends. To understand this, we must move beyond the simplistic narrative of technology as a tool. We must analyze it through 3 intersecting theoretical lenses. First, the structuralist lens, drawing from historical materialism theorized by Karl Marx. The means of intelligence production have shifted. During the Cold War, the state owned the means. It built the NSA's listening posts, the CIA's reconnaissance planes. But today, the means of production, the data centers, the transoceanic cables, the cloud computing platforms are privately owned by a handful of American corporations. The state has been transformed from an owner-operator into a rentier, a client of Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. This is not an acceleration of existing practice. It is a change in the fundamental economic base of state intelligence. Second, the post-Westphalian lens. The principle of non-intervention, articulated in 1648 Peace of Westphalia and codified in Article 2, Clause 4 of the UN Charter, presupposes a world of territorially bounded states. But as scholar Von Rosley notes, how does this principle apply to a Russian GRU officer using AI models developed in California, routed through servers in Sao Paulo to exfiltrate data from a German corporation? The act is coercive, but its pathway is transnational and corporate. The very geography of conflict has been rendered obsolete, creating what international theorist Stephen Krasner termed organized hypocrisy, where states rhetorically affirm sovereignty while functionally ceding it daily. Third, the Foucauldian lens of biopower and governmentality. Michel Foucault argued that modern power operates not through top-down repression, but through the management of life, the biopolitical regulation of populations. China's social credit system is the apotheosis of this, using AI-driven surveillance to shape citizen behavior. But this model is not confined to authoritarian states. In liberal democracies, platforms like Palantir perform a similar function. Their predictive policing algorithms and data fusion systems represent a privatization of governmentality. The state subcontracts its core disciplinary functions to corporate actors, creating a public-private hybrid sovereignty, where the lines between governance and commerce dissolve. This triangulation of structural economic shift, eroded territoriality, and privatized governmentality explains the incentives of all major actors. Firstly, the state's incentive. Faced with the complexity and cost of digital innovation, states, even great powers, are forced into a Faustian bargain, which means that they gain access to unprecedented computational power and agility as seen within Microsoft's development of a secure air-gapped AI for US intelligence, but at the cost of dependency. Their national security becomes tied to the corporate roadmaps and profit motives of the Silicon Valley. Number 2. The corporation's incentive. For firms like Google, Amazon, and Palantir, this is a strategic capture of a new market, the market for sovereignty itself. They're not merely vendors, they are providers of essential state capacity as a service. This grants them immense political leverage, insulating them from regulation and embedding them as indispensable partners. Their power is not territorial, but infrastructural, a form of what Benjamin Bratton calls the stack. And lastly, the adversary's incentive. For smaller or revisionist states like North Korea or Iran, this new landscape is a strategic equalizer. As documented by Louis Lipsker, North Korea's APT-45 group uses commercially available AI to automate phishing and reconnaissance. They no longer need to match the US's native R&D budget. They can leverage the outputs of the very tech ecosystem the US built. This democratization of hacking lowers the barrier to entry for sophisticated espionage, allowing them to punch for above their weight. The geopolitical implications are crucial to understand the competing philosophies of the world order. The European Union, embodying a Kantian vision of a rules-based international community, seeks to regulate the space through the AI Act, imposing normative boundaries from above. However, the People's Republic of China pursues a neo-Mansian model of a state-corporate synthesis, where entities like Alibaba and Tanks are explicitly woven into the fabric of party-led national security, as mandated by its 2017 National Intelligence Law. And lastly, the United States. It operates with a Schumpeterian faith in capitalist innovation, believing that a lightly regulated private sector will naturally maintain its technological dominance, a strategy formalized in the CHIPS Act and Science Act. This fragmentation ensures no coherent global governance can emerge. The result is a new form of imperialism, data colonialism, where the global south provides the raw data that fuels northern AI, creating a 21st century dependency that mirrors the same raw material extraction of the 19th century. In conclusion, the history of espionage has reached an inflection point more significant than the introduction of the telegraph or the satellite. We are not merely adding new tools to the state's arsenal. We are witnessing the emergence of a new political entity, a hybrid Leviathan born from the fusion of state authority and corporate infrastructure. Human spies and the agent in the field remains their intuition and ability to build trust are, as MI16's Richard Moore insists, irreplaceable. But they now operate as a single node in a vast, globally distributed and partially privatized cognitive system. Ben Bratton refers to this as the emergence of a stack in his book, The Stack. Srivastava also discusses a similar concept in her work of hybrid sovereignty. However, the central question of the 21st century statecraft is no longer which state will be the hegemon, but who will control the infrastructural stack upon which all states and all spies thereby now depend. The privatization of the Leviathan is the defining geopolitical process of our time, and its final form has yet to be written.